Good evening, and welcome to the very first episode of The Casual Truther. I am your host, Patrick Gunnels, joined by my co-host, Emma Brandon. Emma, you live in somewhere in the Midwest, and we kind of met on Twitter, and you are a truther too, and I thought it would be a great idea to do a show together because you know a lot of the stuff that I do, and I know a lot of the stuff that you do. And I just thought, I'm old as hell, and I want to hear what the young people have to say. So here we are. How you doing, Emma?
I'm doing pretty well. It's kind of weird that you brought this to me because me and my father even were going to start up something like this. So it's kind of things just fall into place.
Yeah. So I don't remember what I said on Twitter, some trolley thing, and then I saw you followed me, and a whole bunch of other people followed me because a lot of people followed me from that post.
I didn't even see that post, actually.
Yeah, I don't even remember. But I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna block a bot now. And I look, wait, no, hang on. She's a person. So that's what caused this conversation to begin.
I understand because a lot of these people just have like those anime pictures, and you never know if they're a bot or
not. Yes. I block a lot of people who follow me right after they follow me, and usually they've got anime pictures and stuff, but I don't know. So the idea of this show is we're going to talk about conspiracy theories, but we're definitely not going to have one conspiracy theory per show. We're not going to have to worry about sticking on any one topic. We're going to talk about each other's personal lives. We're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about the weather if we feel like it. But the main idea is that we're both truthers from two different generations, separated by the entire millennial generation. I am Gen X. Emma, you are Gen Z. And I want to know a little bit more about the Gen Z truther because I don't actually know any.
Generation, in my opinion.
What's that?
The frowned upon generation at this point.
Do you feel that that Generation Z is frowned upon?
Not really. I was kind of joking with that, but I'd say a little bit, yeah. Just because we lack in the work field, we're kind of have the attention span of a 2-year-old with TikTok and things like that.
When I first joined the InfoWar in 2017, it was the millennials that everybody was saying were the worst thing ever. So that's 2017. It's 8 years ago. And it was common knowledge that the millennials were just the worst. And among truthers, which I had become, by 2017, I was definitely a truther. And what we were all saying was that the millennials suck. But Generation Z is going to kick a lot of ass. They're turning out to be more conservative. They're turning out to be a lot more traditional. They're rejecting a lot of the poison that came down the pike through cultural Marxism, starting, I suppose, not starting, but definitely accelerated with a television going into every home. That was the thing that really kind of got it kicked off. But I think Gen Z is going to be just fine. And
did you think that TVs were making people lazy? Sorry to interrupt.
That's one thing. Interrupt anytime you want. But so what about being lazy?
Did people think that the TVs being put in their homes were going to make them lazy? Is that why they were kind of frowned upon?
I think that in my opinion, so in the 1950s, the TVs started coming out. And it wasn't that they made them lazy. It was that it got them all, and it may have, but it got them all staring at the same message all the time. And it just made it easier to brainwash people at scale. Everybody watched the moon landing. There's a conspiracy. There's in my opinion, one of the baby conspiracy theories. One of the easy ones. Yeah. like when I meet somebody who thinks that the moon landing was real, I'm like, wait, they still make you?
Even if you think the moon landing is real, whatever we saw of it was definitely not, in my opinion. And even my senior year, we did a podcast and proving that it wasn't real. And
okay, so give the audience an idea of just where you fit generationally. You're 20. You kind of just turned 21.
21 in December.
So by senior year, you mean senior year in high school?
Yes, my bad.
So that's another thing, right? Imagine those of you in the audience who may be a little bit older than 21 doing a podcast your senior year in high school. How often are people in high school doing podcasts?
I feel like it's probably more of a thing nowadays.
Uh-huh.
But to my knowledge, that was the first time I ever heard of a
So you
podcast.
were you on this podcast that talked about the moon landing?
Yes, but I think we just published it to where the class could see it. I don't think it was to the world, you know.
Yeah, yeah. The moon landing conspiracy theory, I think I'm not 100% sure when I got that one, but I got it first for sure. And it was the phone call with Richard Nixon
I
that
don't
okay, so all right. So the moon is 250,000 miles. Okay, let's start with this.
know. Okay.
We are told that the moon is 250,000 miles away in spinning in a vacuum. And so the people of the United States in 1969, when the moon landing was going on, were treated to an amazing video of Richard Nixon picking up the phone and talking to Neil Armstrong on the moon. That happened. I'm going to find that for you right now because it's a beautiful thing. Richard Tricky Dick himself, part of it all the way through. Richard Nixon moon landing phone call. Let's see if I can pull it up. It's 3:25. First moon call.
And was live streaming even a thing back in the day at that time or no?
Yeah. So they had live television, but it wasn't distributed digitally like it is today. It was distributed over the air using, well, I want to say radio waves, but I don't know the exact type of wave that it is. All right, check this shit out. This is ridiculous. The Apollo 11 astronauts talk to Richard Nixon. This is 3 minutes and 25 seconds.
It may be a function of astute as well as lack of gravity force here.
Nice, speed that up.
Tranquility Base, this is Houston. Can we get both of you on the camera for a minute, please?
I think we're going to have a here. I want both of them in the field of view.
Feeling those, I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made from the White House. I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you have done. For every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives. And for people all over the world, I am sure that they too join with Americans in recognizing what an immense feat this is. Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world. And as you talk to us from the Sea of Tranquility, it inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to Earth. For one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one. One in their pride in what you have done, and one in our prayers that you will return safely to Earth.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor and privilege for us to be here representing not only the United States, but men of peaceable nations, and with interest and a curiosity and with a vision for the future. Honor for us to be able to participate here today.
And thank you very much, and all of us look forward to seeing you on the Hornet on Thursday.
Does no one think that this is like a weird jump in technology, I think?
So
Or
it's funny that you ask. So let's talk about 250,000 miles. We can't get that kind of a signal from Austin without having an absolutely state-of-the-art broadcasting apparatus that costs. They could not possibly have done that. 250,000 miles is not a distance that we can send a phone. We can't do that now. Not to say that we could do it ever in the future, because, and this is something that I haven't really gotten into with you, but no, the moon isn't actually a rock floating in a vacuum 250,000 miles away. Totally different topic. But here's the thing. They had Richard Nixon do that little performance for us. And I have to ask, I know it's fake, But I have to ask myself, did Richard Nixon know it was fake? I have no idea.
I feel like surely they would have to know. And maybe that's when the money comes in where they bribe them, be like, all right, we're going to tell you this crazy stuff. It's true, but it's crazy. And then you just have to be our puppet. I don't know.
Really, I think that's valid, because what I remember about the Apollo mission was that the 3 astronauts who went on that mission, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Neil Armstrong was, according to observers, just beside himself with excitement to go to the moon. And then just, bouncy, smiley, happy, excited. And then after the mission, he looked as if somebody had just killed his dog. Absolutely miserable. Went into seclusion after Apollo 11. He became an alcoholic. His wife left him, and he did almost no interviews whatsoever. And in the few interviews he did do, anybody who studies lying says the words he used and the pronouns he used, he did everything in his power not to associate himself with it. He didn't say, I walked on the moon. He says, when you walk on the cislunar surface, using the second pronoun, distancing himself from it at all times. So and by the way, there's a movie called Capricorn 1 that is about a mission to Mars. And they basically tell you the story of the moon mission and why it was faked and what happened right before it was faked. I'll get to that in a second. But anyway, old Neil Armstrong was almost certainly sat down just the way you said and was told, you don't have a choice about this. We have the ability to kill your whole family. You're going to have to do this. And here's why. The reason why is because we're worried NASA's budget got cut and shit. So look, here's what we have for you. We have a nice movie set. We have this over here that you're going to help us with. We're going to do it. We're going to fake it for the entire world because this is a patriotic duty that we have. We're up against the Russians. And Neil Armstrong was persuaded to take part in the deception. And then he had to spend the rest of his life lying his ass off about it.
That would definitely make me go insane if I couldn't even tell my family.
Yep.
And they're questioning. I'm sure the wife was questioning. I mean, maybe he thought he went to the moon. I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
Easy.
Oh my gosh. It was, let's see. There's an amazing movie called Capricorn 1. I just want to find you. Let's do the trailer for Capricorn 1. This was made in 1977. And they make it about a moon landing. And these are famous actors in it. This is a major motion picture. One of the things I've learned about the enemy is that they have to tell you what they're doing. Check this out.
We are T-minus 18 seconds from liftoff. We T-minus 15 seconds.
Would you and your men please follow me?
Hey, what the hell is this? This is an emergency. Please follow me now. T-minus 10 seconds. 9, 8. We have ignition. 6, 5. We have outboard engines. 3. We have inboard engines. 1, 0. We have a launch commit. We have a liftoff at 35 minutes after the hour.
Every split second of this historic flight, every intimate detail, every heartbeat was monitored by Mission Control in Houston.
This is Capricorn 1. We have landed.
As millions all over the world watched and listened, the President of the United States spoke to the astronauts across the vastness of space.
To the men of Capricorn 1, I bring you greetings from your fellow Americans.
There's only one small catch. It never happened. It's all a lie, a fantastic $30 billion hoax.
Something's wrong, and I don't know what it is.
Dig deep enough, you might uncover the truth.
Those signals couldn't have come from 300 miles.
But the odds are, you'll never live to tell it.
Please!
I'm not moving an inch.
They're on the plane to get it! There's a device, it's on the plane. There's some people, if I don't get in the all-clear signal, they'll explode it.
Something's wrong, something big. They know I'm onto it, and they try to kill me. Who's they? I can't tell you.
We are dead.
You tell me you're in trouble, you're out on bail, you just got fired, I tell you I'll be right over.
My head hurts.
You look awful.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
These people, they're capable of anything.
sound so close. It's hard to believe you really are that far away in space.
It's hard for me to believe it, too.
You're up to something. You want my help.
It's gotten out of control. It's too big.
Capricorn 1, this is Houston. Capricorn 1, we show red on the heat shield. Capricorn 1, this is Houston. We show red on the heat shield. Do you read?
Pull that lever down by your feet when I tell you, Sonny.
Capricorn 1, the mission that never got off the ground.
I like how they leave little breadcrumbs in movies.
Yeah.
People to
It's-
decipher.
Yeah. They made that in 1977, only 8 years after the moon landing. And I think by 1977, everybody totally accepted it. And they could still make that movie, and nobody of any, not in any significant numbers, nobody said, wait a minute, maybe that's how they did the moon landing. Because it was almost like they had 3 astronauts, just like they did on the moon landing. And then the astronauts themselves had their own ideas about whether or not they felt good about faking it. The main guy, Neil Armstrong, I think we're told he had a real problem with it. Then the middle guy, Buzz Aldrin, he's like the spokesman. He's the guy who just said, great, I love it. I get to be famous. Screw it. And then there was a third guy who was played by O.J. Simpson, which was hilarious in itself, just for the sheer fact that it was O.J. Simpson. But, you know, so tell me about being in high school, doing a podcast just for the heck of it, because you can, and starting to see the central narrative as being false.
Well, luckily, the 2 girls that I did it with were also kind of truth seekers, even in high school, I guess. But the class did kind of view us as crazy in some ways when presenting this.
Okay, so you had a presentation in front of your class. You said, look, this moon landing is fake. Here's why. And it was you and 2 other girls.
Yes.
Damn, that sounds like a good podcast.
I'll try and find it.
Yeah.
But
so what did you guys say, and how did your class react, and how did that go?
we definitely made a great argument, in my opinion. I think some people were on our side, but the one thing about the videos of the moon landing is if you look in the sky, there's 0 stars, first of all. And I'm pretty sure you'd be able to see stars if you were on the moon, as well as there being shadows. And then the flag was also waving. And there just a lot of things added it to not being real. And it being in like a studio, like you said.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Indicative of multiple different sources. One of my favorites is the takeoff from the moon. Did you show them that?
I don't believe we did. Maybe we talked about it, but.
So here's the takeoff from Apollo 17. Liftoff, December 14th, 1972. Let's put this at regular speed.
Push. Engine arm is out. Okay, I'm going to get the pro. 99, proceeded. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Right away, Houston. Vector grid. Exot. Good over. Vector, you have good thrust.
Okay, so anyway, that was supposed to be a rocket that blasted them off of the surface of the moon.
It just looked like it.
It just levitated, like it had anti-grav technology. The camera did a perfect pan up. So I guess the cameraman just had to stay on the moon. I guess he's still there. Yeah.
That's a good point. I didn't even. Another thing is, sorry, but they lost the documents or the footage or something of the moon landing. How do you lose that? Like, that's a very important thing to.
They lost all the tapes. It's because they switched to a different type of tape. They didn't have the budget. lost all the telemetry data, every bit. Here's why. Because any kind of data that they had would be scrutinized, and they cannot possibly fake that to anybody who knows where the stars are supposed to be located. They would have to fake. So they couldn't show any stars in the videos. Why? Because astronomers would be able to calculate where the stars should be based upon where they are in their, spinning ball model. And there's no way they could do that for every single shot. So they just took the stars away. Okay, no stars. We can't have stars. Well, if they can choose not to have stars, they could choose anything they want. But everything about it was super fake. And unfortunately, I hear a lot of people say, yeah, it was fake, but they still went. But they went on a secret mission. And I don't have any patience for that. That's just ridiculous.
I used to think that too, but in reality, why would they do a fake mission to the moon without telling people? I think, especially when they've already broadcasted one that they want to think is real.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But now this is something that I'll talk about some other time on another show, but giving everybody the impression that you can fly to the moon gives everybody the impression that we live on a spinning ball and that the sky is a vacuum. So that's a completely different topic. But if you want your classmates to think you're really, really crazy, don't deny the moon landing. No. Deny the heliocentric model. But that's my audience. My audience is very, very accustomed to that from me.
I've never heard of that one.
You've never heard of the flat Earth?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Never heard it phrased that way.
Oh, yeah. The heliocentric nonsensical model is what I call it. The sky is not a vacuum. The book of Genesis is probably a pretty darn good.
The flight patterns don't add up as well.
The flight patterns don't. The flight patterns. So yes, that's a big one. Flight patterns don't add up. You can't get from Buenos Aires to Auckland, New Zealand by flying under a ball. The route they take is always very circuitous and always goes through the northern hemisphere, which makes exactly 0 sense on a ball. A bunch of different reasons for that. But honestly, my audience is kind of sick and tired of hearing me talk about it, although a whole bunch of them, I would say at least half, have become complete converts to it, at the very least, rejecting the idea that we live on a spinning ball. Did you know that the Earth at the equator is rotating, according to that model, at 1,100 miles per hour?
I did not.
Well, yeah, because if you're going to be if the circumference of the Earth at the equator is 24,901 miles, for it to make that rotation once every 24 hours, it has to be over 1,000 miles every hour. Now they say, well, it's only 15 degrees per hour. But, it's a pretty big ball that you're saying that we live on, and we're just people living on it. We would have to be traveling at about 1,100 miles per hour. Outside would be a nonstop hurricane.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there a specific mileage or amount per hour that we can go where we don't feel the spinning?
Well,
surely it's not that slow.
So how like you're in a car, right? And you're traveling at any speed. 100 miles an hour, good and fast, but you don't feel like you're moving because you're not accelerating, and that's observable. So in physics, when you learn about that, what you feel is acceleration. You're going in a straight line. As long as your speed is constant, you feel just fine. You feel almost as if you're sitting still. However, acceleration can take place by a change in speed, but acceleration also takes place because of a change in direction. So if you're moving in a circle, even if your speed is constant, you're going to feel the change in direction. So you're on a merry-go-round, and that merry-go-round can be traveling around at 50 miles per hour. And even if it's constant, you're going to be hanging on for dear life because of the change in direction, because you're moving in a circle. Now just multiply that by 1,000,000 going around the Earth, and you would feel that. It becomes nonsensical. But if you teach it to people when they're 3 that they live on a ball, it becomes their reality. it isn't that they believe it, it's that there's nothing else. That is my world. Very difficult to get people to believe they've been tricked after that.
Did it first come out that the earth was flat and then they swapped it to round? Or I'm not sure when all of that started.
It's a great question. Tell me what you mean by that.
Like throughout history, like with documentation and books and things, do people write about the flat earth first? Or did they then introduce flat earth after the round theory?
That is a brilliant question. And unfortunately, any answer I give you is going to rely on an historical record that is inherently questionable. So I'll give you an example. We are told that there was an old Greek who measured the circumference of the earth by using sticks in two different cities, hundreds of miles apart. One of the cities was Athens, and the other city was Syene. His name was Eratosthenes. He's also credited for a mathematical way to generate prime numbers called the sieve of Eratosthenes. But he supposedly said, okay, I've got this stick that I'm going to plant in the ground next to a well in one city over here. And then at the exact same time, I'm going to stick a stick in the ground and we're going to measure their shadows and we're going to see but the entire exercise requires that you assume that the earth is a sphere, requires that you assume that the earth is moving and that the sun is stationary and extremely distant. And based upon those assumptions, you can generate, okay, this must be the circumference of the earth. It's called a begging the question fallacy. You make a whole bunch of assumptions that are not in evidence. Put all that to the side. The first reference to the mathematician Eratosthenes in any literature at all is a 20th century reference. We can't find anything about Eratosthenes in any primary sources. So, and this is where I start sounding really conspiratorial, I think Eratosthenes was a fiction. I think he was made up purely for the purpose of inventing that sticks and shadows story so that we could go around screeching at people. We've known that the earth was a sphere for thousands of years. When I was a kid, we weren't told that. We were told, well, it was because of Columbus. Everybody told him he was going to sail off the edge of the earth, but in fact, he did. It is a deep freaking rabbit hole, man. It was one of the weirdest things in the world. I believed in God 5 minutes later. I was an atheist for 20 years. When I realized that the earth was not a ball and that the book of Genesis's description of our world was probably way more accurate, I became a believer that very hour. It was intense stuff.
Every time I go down the flat earth path, it's like, you can't convince me that the earth is round. And then I forget about it. And then I'm like, I don't know the facts anymore.
Did you have a moment when you started realizing that the television was lying to you?
Yeah, I feel like these past 2 years, it's just like I don't watch television much, but when I do, it's like, well, they're clearly just acting. They're just told to say that, or yeah.
2 years. What about your father? So your truthiness comes from your dad.
Yes.
Tell me about what what has your dad been saying to you since you were a little girl that makes you the person that you are today?
He's just always kept it real with me. He would talk to me like I'm an adult, even when I was in diapers. So that probably helped me catch on to like adult conversations quicker as well. I also always hung around adults just by being babysat by them. So maybe that has something to do with it. But
firstborn?
I was, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Parents had me in high school.
Wow. How old is your dad?
My dad is he just turned 40.
That is amazing. Okay, fantastic. So, he's going to be able to play with his grandchildren for a great many years. And that's a huge blessing. One of the things that I think that the powers that should not be have done is I'm 48 and I'm about to have my very first child. My wife is pregnant right now. And she's almost outside of the first trimester. And one of the things I'm coming to realize is that, what the hell, man? by the time that kid graduates from high school, I'm going to be like 67 years old. So I'm going to the gym.
Up.
Yeah, got to worry about my health. Got to do all sorts of healthy stuff. By the way, everybody here, don't forget to go to epicminerals.net. Get your colloidal silver with humic and fulvic acid. Emma, we got some of that headed your way right now.
Cool.
Humic and fulvic acid, it detoxifies. I believe that that colloidal silver protects from electromagnetic exposure. So go to epicminerals.net. Use promo code Shapiro for 10% off every time you do that.
And where would we get electromagnetic waves from?
Well, you would get them from all of them. Those are power lines and 5G towers and, well, hell, your microwave oven, your computer, your cell phone that you have in your pocket all the time. It's just, it's no good. You know, they, every time we had a pandemic, it was coincident with another big electromagnetic electrification of the earth. Radio waves became the big thing in the early 20th century, right around the same time as our so-called Spanish flu. And then different electrifications of the earth just seemed to coincide with people getting sick. That's another thing that changed everything for me. It was understanding that, oh my God, they've been lying about what makes us sick.
Yeah, they're making us sick.
Yes, they are.
There's a point, though, before we segue away from space that I wanted to make, because you remember that spaceship that went up that was supposed to have like the teacher in it and a couple other people, but I don't remember. Were they? I'm sorry, say it again.
Challenger.
Yes, exactly. But that whole thing resonates with the submarine incident that happened.
Yes, it does. So there was, go on.
They're kind of proving that space isn't real like they tell us. Like we're going to send people up there. Oh, but it exploded. Sorry.
1986. So I was in 5th grade and they sent us home from school and said, look, we're sending you home from school. Your parents have something they need to tell you. And it was messed up. Like the space shuttle went up and it exploded. Hey, can I tell you something about that space shuttle that went up and it exploded? All those astronauts are still alive.
I was gonna ask, like,
I don't know if they're all still alive because it has been a long time now. Some of them might have just died of being old. But yeah, most of them are still alive. A couple of them, their identical twin brother is still walking around.
That's awesome.
One of them is just the teacher who went up. Krista McAuliffe. Now she just goes by her middle name, Sharon McAuliffe. Judith.
Did they send him off to a different country or like?
No, fuck it. Why bother? We're brainwashed. They just, this dude, freaking Michael G. Smith. It's the same dude. He kept his same name because think about how many Michael G. Smiths there must be. Possibly Michael J. Smith. If I get the middle initial wrong, I'm going to feel like a schmuck. But there's video of him being confronted. Let me show you this freaking guy, Michael J. Smith. By the way, what search engine do you use?
I use Brave only because my dad told me to.
All right, so I used Brave for a while. Now I use Yandex. It's a Russian-based search engine, and it's like giving you a shot at going to the internet when the internet was first invented and things were not being suppressed. So,
cool.
Challenger astronauts. Let's see here. Here they all are. Are the Challenger astronauts still alive? Here's a picture of them. Let me pull up this picture. Yeah, Yandex will not suppress. Well, sort of not. All right, so there's this guy. He's alive. There's Krista McAuliffe. She's alive. Sharon McAuliffe. That's Judith Resnick. Same chick, same face. There's Ronald. I believe his name is Ronald McNair. There he is, his twin brother. Yeah, this is Dick Scobie right here. Same dude, same face, same nose. He runs a company that anyway. And then there's this guy, the so-called, I think he was the pilot, Mickey Smith.
Identical. Come on.
These are the guys. And so Michael J. Smith, I want to say it's Michael Smith, but pull up the names. Challenger astronaut Michael Smith. And then there's a video. Let's see here. Where his web. Michael J. Smith.
Okay.
And I wonder if I could pull up the video of him being confronted. And if I can't, then we'll move on to what makes us sick. There he is. Bam. So YouTube is not suppressing the way it used to. Check this out. Now, this is the guy. All right. Here we go.
Hey there. Hey, sorry to bother you. I was pulling out and I saw you. I just came by to. Are you Michael Smith?
Yeah.
Professor at university?
Retired.
Retired?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just stopped by because there's this room. Are you aware of that? There's a rumor on the internet
It's not me.
that people are saying.
Yeah, it's not me, obviously. I mean, anybody that looks at my background, looks where I was born, it's not me. I mean, it's interesting that the Michael J. Smith, that was the astronaut, looks something like me when we were younger, but really not, if you really look at facial recognition.
You never been a pilot, never been a military?
Nothing like that.
Huh.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
And I don't respond to the emails I get. I get probably an email, maybe 2 a month.
Really?
Yeah, and I got one guy that's been really hounding me, and I turned it over to the FBI.
Really?
But, you know, yeah, I mean, it's bullshit.
Okay.
You know, another crazy theory.
Okay.
But that's, you know, not me. I'm glad I wasn't him, but he's quite a guy.
Yeah.
You know, but if you look at my career, you look at my CV that's online, all the stuff I've published, all that I've done, it's not even close to what that guy was.
Okay. Yeah, you just sure look alike. It's the same
I
name.
know the facial thing, but that's what we looked like, what, 40 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, look how old I am now. It can't possibly be me.
I'm not a lie detector, but he was clearly lying.
There he is, right there, right in front of us. There he was, same dude. I'm very curious about that. Why on earth would they do such a terrible job covering that up?
Maybe because they would like people to find it eventually.
That might be it. I guess, you know, you have Elon Musk. Oh, by the way, I just got a note that that Donald Trump just pardoned all the J6ers. So that's one promise kept. I've definitely enjoyed his term so far. We'll see what happens. Donald Trump becoming president changed everything.
TikTok's a huge topic.
Did you do any TikTok?
I did a little bit, but it was just like for friends and for stupid stuff.
Figured it out to save my life. It's impossible. I don't know. And then every time I try to do anything on it, anything that I do that actually gets eyeballs and gets like real, like
gets banned,
real traction, it gets banned. So the other thing that I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for Donald Trump's executive order on free speech, which will be absolutely amazing, which will cause us all to go viral and get filthy, filthy, filthy rich, which I'm excited about too. By the way, everybody hit that thumbs up on Rumble, share it on Twitter. We are the news now, etc., and all the rest. So anyway, so back to the things that make us sick, right? So
yes.
Tell me about your experience when COVID first hit. Where were you mentally at that time? And how did it affect you?
I was a sophomore in high school, actually. I kind of kept to myself at this time. I had a boyfriend who was long-term at this point. So I was already kind of a recluse. And I was actually praying for the lockdown because I hated school at this time. I hated going to sports at this time. I just wanted to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out. But I didn't realize the effect it had on me until I went to college.
So 2020, wow, God, 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. That's so fucking.
I'm still young, so like 5 years is like.
I know. You were 16.
Yeah.
All right, you're 16 years old. Not a truther at that time, right?
I kind of was, but I was still just like trying not to think about what my dad was talking to me about because he's crazy.
16-year-old girl. I can't imagine, you know? Okay, so I remember what it was like to be a 16-year-old boy. And it was life was hard, honestly, because just being 16, you don't know anything. You're being told a million different things. You have no really good way of figuring out what to believe. You just have to trust that the adults know what the hell they're talking about. And you're not 100% sure because you're also starting to think for yourself at 16. Yes. And then this shit happens. 16 years old. I hated school too. And then you get 2 weeks to slow the spread, right? So you're in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Red state, blue state.
Where I'm from, we're red, but we're only blue because of Chicago.
Gotcha. Okay, so Illinois. And
yes.
Oh, God help you with the what's the weather like there right now? Because we're about to get a hard freeze. It must be horrifying where you are.
It's like 6 degrees.
For you, that's not a big deal. For us in Houston, Texas, it is a calamity. We're going to get down to 16 degrees, and we're going to get like 4 inches of snow in Houston. This will be the most snow Houston has gotten since 1960. Fun fact. So I'm very excited about that, and hopefully my kids are going to get to play in the snow. I digress. So you get 2 weeks to slow the spread, right? And you get your lockdowns, and then the lockdowns don't actually stop after 2 weeks. What was it like during that time?
What's weird is, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm assuming it's this way for most teenagers at this time. I was kind of desensitized to it. It was just like, all right, this is what we got to do. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is this big crazy thing like it was to adults. To me, it was just like, cool, I get to stay home from school. And
how long were you how long did they keep you out of school? I didn't even ask.
Don't think we went back normally until my senior year.
Okay, so at 16, you're a sophomore. And so you missed the remainder of your sophomore year.
Yes.
All of your junior year. And then you went back your senior year.
Yep.
Well, now what do you think that did to you? What did you do at home?
Nothing productive, honestly.
Yeah.
I just hang out with my friends. I mean, I don't really remember doing homework. It was like some teachers would just give us a coloring page to turn in, or like go on a walk outside, or like it was like insane the amount of not work that we were having to do.
Do you feel like that did you a massive disservice?
It did, because not only was I not a routine type of person, so then having that and then pushing me off to college, it was like, all right, I have no idea how to have a routine. I don't know what I'm doing. Because yes, it's in a lot of ways.
So it was still just assumed you're going to college, you're going to do a 4-year degree, and because that's just something that we do. How did you feel about that? Because I mean, the colleges are more fucked up than the high schools.
True. I think as a teenager, though, I was just excited to get away, and I was just praying that things would go back to normal before I could go off to college, because the year before me wasn't when I was a junior. So,
okay, so yeah, we're talking 2020, and then 2021, and then 2022. So college should be 2023, shouldn't it?
Yes, end of 2022. Yeah,
end of 2022. You're going off to college, and things are in Houston. Everything was normal-ish by then. Now, I don't know what it would be like in Chicago. I'm sure it's still a shit show, but where you lived, was it like mildly okay by 2023?
Oh yeah, I'd say so, especially in a small town.
Okay. But so when you went off to college, you get there and you know, it wasn't for you, and you just decided to strike off on your own. When did you think that you decided, okay, look, the central narrative is total bullshit. I'm being lied to about everything. What was the thing that just kind of clicked in your head? This is it.
Well, when I was at college, I realized I can't learn unless I like learn on my own time and about things that I want to do. So I got out of that, one, because I was kind of failing. So then I got a hotel job, and during this hotel job, I started to join X and then do like some YouTube videos. I started a podcast, and now this awesome thing, but it didn't really click to me until I just started doing things that I wanted to do instead of doing things that I'm told to do.
Do you ever worry about the medical industry nowadays, given the fact that they did what they did during COVID?
Yes, and I actually wanted to be a therapist, but I was just talking to my father about this. I don't really trust some of their policies nowadays because they're kind of wonky on mental health, and I don't know, just not for me. I think they're being lied to about a lot.
No, they really are. So for me, it was pretty simple. They told me in 2020 that there was a bug going around that was going to kill 3% of the people. So the World Health Organization said 3% of everybody who gets this will die. And I said, that's just not possible. That's ridiculous. But I still believe that there could be stuff floating around getting us sick. Yeah. And then I started getting into that, and it turned out not to be true.
I think my dad is the only one that pushed me to not get the vaccine, which now I'm kind of happy I didn't.
I would hope.
Yeah. But my grandparents, my entire family were like hounding me. I almost went and got it, but
you say what?
I almost went and got it, but my dad was hell no.
So many, God bless your father. So many, I had friends who genuinely thought the vaccine was probably the worst thing ever, but they got it anyway because they got bullied by their employer, by their friends, by their families, by their wives. And there's no defending against that unless you understand what makes us sick. And it turned out the vaccines were never in any way protecting you from anything. Best case scenario, and this is a topic we'll get into. Best case scenario, it's saline. Worst case scenario, it's a bunch of sludge that's going to either make you sick or kill you. But one thing we know for a fact, and we can prove, is that there are no viruses getting into your somatic cells, reproducing and causing your cells to die, making you sick, and that a weakened form of that virus can be introduced into your body and your immune system can learn how to kill it. That's never, ever happened.
That just blew my mind because that doesn't make sense now that I'm hearing it. Like,
yeah, you've got the Jenners, you've got Edward Jenner, the father of the vaccine, who actually killed his son injecting him with cow sludge. You have the original belief that the milkmaids who didn't get cowpox, who didn't get smallpox, it was because they were around these cows and it steeled their immune system, when in fact, no, they were simply living healthy lifestyles out on a farm, getting excellent nutrition from raw milk. And that every single one of these diseases that is blamed on a virus is not caused by a virus because they never found the virus. When you read the very first paper claiming to have isolated the measles virus, the guy who wrote the paper, John Franklin Enders, admits in the paper that his control group yields the exact same results. What were you going to ask?
Do you think John F. Kennedy Jr. or JFK Jr. is kind of a way to get people on board with vaccines again?
Oh, wow. I think he's pretty people
right,
describe
isn't
him
he
as
trying to make them better? Or am I wrong on that?
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
So, I want to make them more safe. So, that's terrible. When the vaccines were starting to get rolled out early on in, I would say, early 2021, you had this medical freedom movement, quote unquote, of people that I like, so Naomi Wolf, she was an old liberal, and she just came out and said, you can't go around forcing people to get vaccines. There are people who don't want them. You cannot make them take them. This is a free country. And we can't live in a country where you're going around bullying people into taking your medicines. It's not okay. And you have old, RFK Jr. saying the testing on these vaccines is trash. Everything leading up to the release of these vaccines has been trash. We have no idea what's in them. The trials, they won't even show us the data on the trials. Don't touch these things. However, I get where you're coming from. He can get us back on the vaccines.
Yeah, like reverse psychology. Boom.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, vaccines are bad. Get on my side. And then boom, we're changing them for the better. Now
No, we're
take
going to make them super good. It is scary. So has anybody in your world kind of suggested that? Because it's a perfectly valid thing to say, in my opinion.
No, but it just goes hand in hand with the reverse psychology with some of the other things that happen.
Yeah, like the thing that kind of scares me the most is the whole concept of vaccines have been one of the greatest inventions of all time. We've got to get back to the time when the vaccines were super good. Like the polio vaccine, it saved so many lives. No, polio was a mass poisoning event caused from improper detoxification of water sources. There was lead arsenide in the water and in the food supply. And people are going to get extremely sick from that. And when they cleaned up the water, the polio went away, and then they came out with the vaccine about a year and a half later, and then took credit for getting rid of polio with these shots and started making it mandatory. And you can make it mandatory, and you can put anything you want in it if you want to run experiments on the people, which is what the vaccines are, just mass experiments on the people, because we are their cattle.
Have you been hearing about this bird flu up and coming?
So a little bit, but
Okay.
I try not to. What are they going to try to do to us this time?
I guess, I mean, it gets in the birds, and the birds like shit on the cow food, and the cows eat it, and then it, gets in our meat. But basically, it like stops us from breathing.
Okay. Well, here's the way I would talk about it. They're going to use it to scare the shit out of us. And anybody who gets sick, who doesn't, because we get sick. I mean, that's totally a thing. But they're going to worry. People who get sick are going to worry that it was the bird flu. And if they get enough of those people who can have panicked reactions because they got a sniffle, then you can manipulate the people that way. They can also use it as a way to say, okay, listen, this entire crop of cows has to be killed right now so we can control the food supply. Oh my gosh, look at all these chickens. They've all got bird flu. Your 2 million chickens, they all have to die. Only the chickens that we have from...
Think of this.
Yeah, we can wipe out shit tons of chickens. We can do all sorts of shit because the people are afraid. So it's just a simple matter of just make sure you get the people good and afraid. It doesn't have to be real. In fact, it never is real. And then you win. But it gets, it gets onerous in the process.
Hate like thinking this way though, because now I see everything on the media and it's like lie. They're just trying to sway me some way or do this. I can't even have fun with like shows anymore because I'm thinking deep.
So yeah, it's pretty funny that you say that, because my buddy Chris and I, who do a show called Hindsight 2020, which is just 100% about the year 2020. We call it the year that changed everything. And what we learned in 2020 was that we have to reverse our thinking about news stories. We have to start from the assumption that they're false and require proof that it's real, rather than start from which is what everybody does, start from that it's true and say, prove to me that that's false. No, that's a story being told on a box.
The news is guilty until proven innocent.
Yes, we're guilty until proven innocence. We reverse the burden of proof, and it really helps. But yeah, we are exhausting people that way, though.
Yes. Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah. I'm sure your dad probably sympathizes with this idea that truthers can be exhausting, because we make you tell us every single damn source and where that source came from, and question it. Okay, you say there's a virus. Tell me how. You don't see it, but don't you know about science?
Right.
You know about science.
Why? Sorry.
There was this show called That 70s Show, and there's this pretty girl played by You've heard of that show?
Oh, I used to watch it all the time with my mom.
Awesome. So Jackie, the girl played by Mila Kunis, said this awesome line to Kelso. She says, "Michael, you're an idiot and science is stupid," because he was telling her that something was science. And I want to clip that out and just use it all the time.
Science as we know it is stupid. Sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got to figure out topics and stuff for the show in general. I think that the germ theory stuff is important, but I want to talk about Anunnaki at some point. I want to talk about other lands. I want to talk about what people call aliens, because that's another one. Just because I don't think those aliens are the same thing that other people think those aliens are, doesn't mean there isn't something there. And that's another thing. We can interpret something that is true incorrectly and come up with a different theory. For example, unidentified flying objects.
Is it the government? Is it?
Could be all. Yeah. What do you think? So one of the things you mentioned to me was the topic of the Anunnaki. What got you into that stuff?
I used to go down YouTube rabbit holes all the time, and I don't remember. It was probably, what's his name? He's a comedian. He's getting really big now for truth telling. Cat Williams.
Oh God, yeah, he yes, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Basically just YouTube videos, and then I would just watch them and believe them.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy too. A lot of these comedians are I think they're representing a certain element in the Hollywood crowd that are possibly breaking free or possibly not, but representing the next level of controlled opposition.
I think Cat Williams is definitely controlled opposition.
Yeah? What made you think that?
There's no way he could be spilling all of this without being shot, unless they wanted him to spill all of this. So
yeah, that is so
he does a lot that probably shouldn't.
You know what though? If they shoot him, and this is another aspect, we ended up meeting on Twitter because we both follow Owen Benjamin, and he is one of my favorite truthers. They're not going to shoot him. What they do is worse. They take everything away from him, like they did to Kanye, like they do to anybody who just goes way off the reservation. They were able to make sure that Owen Benjamin could not use a single theatrical venue in all of the United States. They were able to shut off access. He could sell out any location. He could sell it out. He could rent it with his own money. He could sell it out and pay all expenses and make a tidy profit on top. And he could do that in every city in the USA. And all of a sudden, whoever it was that he had crossed, the Hollywood mafia, whatever you want to call it, they were all able to make it so that every single one of those venues was simultaneously unavailable to him all at once. In some cases, he would sell the venue out and then they would cancel him and refund all of his money.
That would make me go insane, to be honest. I don't know. Thank God for X. And thank God he can.
Mafia's out. Oh, you cut out there for a second, Emma. What were you saying just now?
I said, thank God for X. Thank God he can still have some type of platform to get his voice out there.
And he's doing okay on there. He's doing okay on X. He does okay on Rumble. I do not credit these platforms for perfect respect for free speech. They still algorithmically suppress a lot of people. But yeah, it's definitely a good thing. I think, is there a chance you think that Elon's going to buy TikTok?
I have no idea.
It'd be better. I guess it would be better than the current situation.
TikTok down to put it back up again so they can have more restrictions on it. I don't know.
Yeah. Like YouTube is a desolate wasteland. We can't get any traction there. There's no point. I was never able to get any traction on TikTok. People would think that you would be perfect to go viral on YouTube, right? Cute, young, nice voice, you talk well and all that good stuff, and go viral real quick. It doesn't work like that. The people who go viral have some kind of in to the system, and they're controlled in one way or another. And it just blows my mind as to how deep that control goes. Like on Rumble, for example, my account on Rumble, I've got my audience.
Right.
However, the system will not let me get even one new subscriber. Not one. I have been spot welded to 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I've just like super glue stuck to 30,000 for 3 straight years. And that's Rumble, the free speech platform. I'm actually experiencing better growth on X right now.
Yeah,
or not.
I don't know. I'm a little bit iffy on X. I keep trying to like be consistent with it, but I don't know which content I should put out and what I can say and what I can't. So I'm just trying to do everything at this point.
Yeah, I think that what you can do on X, is say anything you want.
Just the things that I'm talking about, like that I want to talk about,
Mhm.
they don't get as many views as like the random positive quotes that people want to see. And
Wait, well, excuse me. You're saying that random positive quotes are going to get me more views?
yes,
Because I don't have any shame.
I'll put like a robot, and you'll get.
I'm going to tell me a random positive fucking thing to say that gets me lots of
Like a
views.
wise quote, or like holding on to acceptance will just lead you to agony, or just something stupid like that.
Oh, that sounds so gay. I can't do it. Okay. Never mind.
That's why I can do it. I'm a female. People.
Hey, it looks good on you. Yes, exactly. I get it. Okay, fine. We'll figure something out where that's concerned, because my wife has been telling me, Patrick, you need to take Facebook more seriously now.
Okay, yeah, that's where all the adults are, and like
Yeah, the boomer book. Yeah. So and boomers have money. That's a great demographic to try to expand your audience with and all that. Love it. But Facebook apparently is less suppressive now. And my wife, who's on Facebook on a regular basis, says my stuff is getting way more interaction, getting way more likes, way more shares. So there could be something to it with Zuckerberg going on Rogan and saying, "Hey, I'm going to stop being a total scumbag now." And
I didn't watch that yet, but I should.
The thing about Rogan with me is the way that he was an anti-vaxxer back in 2009, and then he got the Spotify deal, and then right as COVID hit, he made sure to say anti-vaxxers are insane, they're nut jobs, they're whack jobs, take your vaccines.
Yeah.
And then he never got the vaccine himself. And by the time enough of his audience had taken, everybody in his audience who was going to take the vaccine took the vaccine, when all the damage was done, then Joe Rogan comes out and says, "Hey guys, I'm just taking ivermectin, blah, blah, blah."
And wasn't ivermectin like what was that horse pill that people would get? Okay.
It's horse paste. Well, okay. It's probably rude. I'm not a big fan of ivermectin. I think it's fine. And I think there are cases where it can make people better. But it is just an antiparasitic. And sometimes there's a parasite that you need to get rid of. Sometimes there's not. And that's the other part. Sometimes you have a parasite that's actually helping you. How do you like that? Because you can have a parasite. Yeah, you can have a body that's just lousy with this poisonous heavy metal crap or microplastic or God knows what. And then there can be some parasite out there that likes to eat that and is actually in your body keeping you clean from all this poison that you keep putting in there. Now, if you want to get rid of that parasite, okay. But don't you also want to get rid of that poison that parasite is eating up? So if you want to get rid of the parasite, get rid of the poison. Stop putting poison into your body, and then the parasites will naturally have nothing to feast on. But the whole attitude of, okay, we're just going to kill all the parasites and see what happens, I think that's really dangerous. I think that you're better off just living a healthy lifestyle, and then if there's something in there that you absolutely have to kill using a pharmaceutical, then you take that step. But going around acting like, hey, I just take my ivermectin every day and I'm fine, I think it's very dangerous.
I went down the parasite rabbit hole like a couple months ago and pretty much scared the shit out of me, because I learned that I guess America is one of the only countries that doesn't treat parasites. Obviously, I think that's where all of our illnesses are. And then,
where are you hearing that? Because I know that parasites affect us. And I've done a couple of parasite cleanses myself. You know, I actually took a teaspoon of
You
turpentine.
just giving into fear mongering stuff, probably.
Maybe. I've done a couple parasite cleanses. I took some turpentine. How do you like that? So that's just literally the stuff that they make from trees, from the sap of trees. They distill it into its natural, pure spirit. It's a paint thinner, but in its cold pressed organic form, it is a medicine. And I take it. Well, I don't take it anymore, but I took it, and nothing really happened. I'm not sure if I have parasites or not. I hear we all do.
Right. That's where I'm thinking. Because I've done that too. I've done the castor oil and the garlic in the water, kombucha.
Garlic in the water.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do with the castor? Did you take a teaspoon of castor oil?
No, you just rub it on your stomach.
Castor blend, by the way, is on the way. I've been using castor packs too. I don't know if it's really made that much of a difference with me. My system is, ever since I discovered that viruses weren't real and that bacteria, which are real, bacteria don't make you sick. That's another one. When you find out that bacteria don't make you sick and that it's toxins making you sick and that bacteria are actually there for the purpose of cleaning up all those toxins, and that's why they're always so present when you're sick, it's because they're in the middle of a job of cleaning you up.
There's a theory that people are just bacteria on Earth. Like
we ourselves are bacteria. You are part bacteria, in my opinion. That what's going on in your system that we call bacteria, they are part of you, and they're part of your so-called immune system, cleaning things up. And then pleomorphism, which is that those bacteria can revert to become a different type of cell, and that they're no longer bacteria. Now they are X, Y, and Z normal cell. And that is what's actually going on. And when you wipe those out, you're just wiping out a part of you that's actually doing a job. And yeah, you're not sniffling anymore. You're not coughing anymore. But those things that you were doing, the getting stuff coming out of your nose, the fever, the sweating, the coughing, whatever, all of those things were there for the purpose of getting poisons out of your body. And it's not pleasant, but it's necessary to stay healthy. And if you shut down that process, all those poisons go deeper into your system, leading to chronic illness, which is why Americans are very, very chronically ill.
Yes, in many ways.
So in about 15 minutes, I'm going to be doing Hindsight 2020. I'm going to take this video and then I'm going to clean it up a little bit, maybe add a little music video at the beginning and make it pretty. And then I will pump that out on the social media platforms late tonight. It'll be fun. And we should do this just as often as we can. In the meantime, everybody, don't forget to go to tulipblooms.shop. Get your castor blend. That stuff is amazing. I can't wait for you to get your hands on it. You know,
I use castor oil every day.
Yeah, exactly. Emma, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to many more streams, and we will see y'all on the flip side. Bye, guys.